never experienced anything like this in a Super Bowl.
Play tougher, harder, tougher.
Every industry, sport, or community has a pinnacle character, an individual who shaped the landscape of their field and gained a mythic status. Think of what Drake is to rap, Tom Brady is to football, or Mr. Beast is to YouTube. The GOAT, a legend, an icon, whatever you want to call it. A name that is respected, adored, and enduring. The face of the genre, an individual who inspired a generation. But when we think about the fitness space, who comes to mind as being that guy? While years have passed and hundreds of fitness influencers have posted similar content to David's, none have captured the same mystique, essence, and aura that seems to surround the name David Laid. There's something intangible there, mysterious, or one might even say, paradoxical. In this video, I'm going to deep dive into his mind and explain how he has leveraged psychology to achieve the enigma that is David Laid. From his physique to his posts, editing, and even his diet, there is one theme emanating throughout all of David Laid's life, an ongoing quest towards reaching the ethereal or sublime, a state of purity, awe, and perfection. He rarely posts, but when he does, it looks like he just emerged from a 2-week water fast guided by an Indian yogi, took 100 different posing clips, ruthlessly knit, picked to find the best one, then spent an entire morning at a standing desk tweaking his ab shadows in Lightroom off 400 milligrams caffeine, fasted until it looks just right. His posts look great, and at the same time have an ethereal feeling to them. Almost the same sensation you get from peeling off the plastic from a new MacBook. There's a feeling given off by both that emit a certain intangible aura, a manifestation of a deeper life philosophy. Now, let's take Kieran Fagan and his brother, Maxwell Krauss, and Prime Lex Little, all creators who followed in the footsteps of Dave. Borrowing from the Redditor above, they are in the concrete world, all having slight variations of the ideal physique that lives in the world of the abstract. Dave, who many have described as having the highest appeal to both guys and girls, occupies the world of the abstract. He is the platonic ideal. Now, this comparison of David Laid's content to that of an Apple product is no coincidence. But how? Steve Jobs, Apple's founder, shares a lot in common with David Laid. In college, Steve Jobs was known for going on extreme diets in which he only drank carrot juice, then ultimately dropping out after traveling to India in pursuit of enlightenment. With both Steve Jobs and David Laid, there seems to be a deep-rooted fixation on achieving total mental and physical purity that manifests itself in what they create. Dave has been no stranger to this type of behavior himself. Listen to him describe his personality here. In a 1-hour video with James English titled Mind, Body, Spirit, they both dropped LSD and began spouting off about logic, reason, creativity, Jungian psychology, Sam Harris, spirituality, and a slew of other life theories that characterize the archetypal adolescent male who is attempting to convince himself he's reached a superior state of enlightenment that other people his age haven't discovered. Back to this theme of perfection, one of the most frequent jokes and complaints Dave receives is that he doesn't step on stage to compete. His reasoning, unsurprisingly, boils down to the fact that on stage the conditions are not pliable, and therefore cannot be made perfect to the standards he demands. Listen to how he explains this on the Iron Broers podcast. In another one of his most popular videos titled 72 Hours Fast, you can see this theme of achieving mental and physical purity resurface. You can hear his fascination with fasting, hot yoga, and mental clarity. He trademarked the embodiment of physical perfection and subtle intellectual curiosity that gave the appearance of an enlightened...
For example, that's something that I don't really do, but I don't think that I'm better than other people because I don't do that, right? Because I express my ego in different ways. Right. A lot of other people express their egos through like the material, the symbolism that their material, I don't know, like the flexing of...
As one could easily imagine Dave believing that some illness can be cured through a juice fast, red light therapy, and a megadose of some weird supplement he found through a rogue YouTube doctor. With both Steve Jobs and David Laid, there seems to be a rooted thought in achieving wholeness and perfection through restriction, a prevalent motif in Zen Buddhism and the content of Sam Harris, Alan Watts, and other mainstream philosophers of mind. While he appears outwardly well-versed in psychology and the mind, one cannot help but feel these learnings have not metamorphosed into a perfectionist pseudo-enlightened mindset that has revealed itself in his content. He strives to use just the right word, eat just the right organic, sea oil-free food, take photos in just the right lighting, and so on. While he's explaining it in the context of relationships, Dave embodies this in his content. He gives you just enough, at seemingly random times, with perfect quality. then withdraws back into the shadows. Childhood. To understand the psychology behind David Laid, we need to analyze his childhood and the factors that shaped his personality development. After the tragic death of his father at the age of 3, Dave and his now single mother emigrated from Estonia to the United States. Listen to how David describes the effect this had on his childhood and self-image. Aside from his self-image, he goes on to describe what I believe to be the most important factor in the development of his personality, which I'll let him describe. While David has a tendency of drifting into a caffeinated incoherency during some of his podcasts, he articulates this point very well. Growing up without a guiding fatherly energy allowed him to channel his passion with the shifting tides of his interest. Listen to how Robert Greene describes the importance of this in his book, Mastery. Some people never become who they are. They stop trusting in themselves. They conform to the tastes of others, and they end up wearing a mask that hides their true nature. If you allow yourself to learn who you really are by paying attention to that voice and force within you, then you can become what you were fated to become, an individual, a master. While a traditional father may have turned him away from magic tricks and towards football, or away from photography and towards fishing, Dave crafted his personality by pursuing the paths that naturally attracted him, which, extrapolated to present day, helped to explain the paradox of his persona. He is visually masculine, yet deeply in touch with his creative side. He is externally calm and enlightened, yet inwardly obsessive. He is visually jacked, yet intellectually deep. There is some deep attraction and intrigue behind individuals who break our heuristics, or general laws that we use to find regularity and coherence in our environment. When someone sees this, they make a certain set of assumptions that, when proved to be untrue, as in the case of Dave, they pique our interests. They develop a certain mystique that draws people in to discover more, something deeper. Other examples that exhibit this principle are Pietro Boselli, who is both a male model and a PhD in engineering, or someone even more familiar like Ben Francis's wife, Robin Gallant, who is both a bikini competitor and holds a degree in biomechanics and metabolism. Paradoxical personalities captivate us with their intriguing mix of mystery and depth. They draw us in, reveal unexpected layers, and keep us hooked even when they pull away. It will be interesting to see where David's content goes from here. Listen to the intro of his podcast with Chris Williamson.
Egotistical construction with either one. And the goal is to transcend that, even though your egotistical construction that you're feeding is societally rewarded, right? So that's a trap that you could really, really fall into. So the key is you need to go a little lower than that.
Observing the evolution of Dave's content, I believe he's morphed into a character that is externally enlightened and simultaneously, at times, inwardly obsessive. It is entirely possible that, given his quest into the spiritual realm, is a mix of childlike curiosity and a reaction against a life that has been dictated by superficial appearances. The Coquette. The largest contributing factor behind David's ascent to mythic status is the infrequency in which he posts. Months often pass between posts, and when he does post, it's of the absolute best quality. Introversion, absentness, and mystery are his most esteemed psychological resources. This distinguishes him from other influencers who, married to growth, are forced to nearly prostitute themselves with cheap daily posts that render them incapable of generating the same feeling of mystery that David has cultivated. This concept draws from the psychology of building desire, which I am sure Dave is familiar with. According to Law 16 of the 48 Laws of Power, with a strong presence, you attract attention and overshadow everyone else. But if you overdo it and become ubiquitous, people will stop paying attention to you and you'll lose respect and power. This is where absence comes in. You can preserve and enhance your status by withdrawing at the right moment, just before people start getting tired of you. The cycle of seduction and love works this way. When your lover begins taking you for granted, pull away for a while without explanation. Your absence regenerates the person's desire for you, and when you return, he or she cherishes and respects you again. And what's interesting is that Dave embodies this, not just in his content, but in his demeanor. He moves quietly and humbly, but emits a feeling of mystery that commands respect from those around him and his audience. Compared to the majority of mainstream fitness influencers such as Jesse James West, the Trend Twins, and Alex Eubank, who exhibit extreme extroversion in their videos to capture attention, David's introversion is a powerful contrast. Rather than relying on a title and thumbnail, he relies on extremely high-quality, genuine content that captures his mystique. Now, some of this is attributable to his reputation and fame within fitness, but the principles outlined above cannot be ignored. This formula is nothing new. Build up an audience by regularly posting content, then, once you're on top, disappear, only returning to give glimpses into your life. Jeff Seed, whose rise to prominence aligns with Dave's, leverages this same principle of building desire through absence. But the difference is, I'm almost certain Jeff Seed has below 100 IQ, so aside from his physique, there's nothing much to desire. Especially not him reading off a script for his once-a-year MyProtein ad that pays his rent and gym membership. David, however, has maximized this effect by combining niche, esoteric interests like cardistry, spirituality, etc., with mysteriously absent behavior to maximize impact and desire when he does post. Although recently his YouTube videos can be summarized as Sawyer Klatt arriving from the airport, filming him deadlift heavy, then watching them eat at Denny's. But anyway, if you are a careful observer of the fitness landscape, when he is around other creators, they almost always film a video with him in the thumbnail. Since Dave himself rarely posts, other creators can leverage his mystique to their own favor. The video at that point is not clicked to see Jesse James West or Anthony Mantello, but rather David Lade. In normal life, there are a lot of tropes that involve people leveraging this law of absence. The girl who barely replies to your texts, the athlete who is too busy to resolve, the friend who never asked to hang out first. You get the gist. People want what they can't have. In Robert Greene's book Seduction, he discusses a seduction type that leverages the law of building respect through absence in describing the coquette, one of the 9 seduction types. Listen to him describe it here.
Then there's, as you mentioned, there's the coquette, probably the most dangerous. That's the one I have problems with the most because in my past, most men have had that. You know, the coquette, the woman or man, because that can go both ways, is someone who blows hot and cold, right? They know how to play hard to get, and they get your claws in you. And then they withdraw, and you go crazy, and you have to pursue them, and you're going after them. Coquettes are devilishly powerful. You know, it's for a man. There could be the worst, and I've had many experiences with that, so I speak from experience. Then there's this.